Okay, this is absolutely not professional, but I'm gonna try to log what I do to make a decent sourdough. And you get to see me in all my glory and in the trashed kitchen. There we are. Okay, so can I reverse the order of this? I don't even know if I can.
No, you cannot.
No way. Seriously?
Yeah, you can't. It's only one at Polo.
So there's the counter. This is my crazy counter with right now I'm making some coffee. And then this is my starter. We call him Max because he's named after Max Scherzer from the Nationals, who was a great starter. All right, so I also keep, I always keep some apple cider vinegar right next to this with a couple holes punched in it. And this is my fruit fly trap, which is nasty and needs to be changed, but I keep it near here so that if in fact anything comes around this, it goes there and dies. All right, and I keep, this is not tight on here, it's just loosely put on here so that we have a little bit of air, movement, but typical mason jar. All right, I have measured this mason jar with 100 grams of starter and then written on the outside 498 because that's the goal. So this guy right here, Max, needs to be fed. So I zero out my scale. There's a term for that Vinny always remembers and I don't. There we go. And we're at 693. So right now I just start my, and this is the incredibly, oops, I should have sloshed that around. There's some hooch in there, some extra because it's a little hungry. Just slosh it around, pour it down the drain, and see where we're at. Yep. All right, so I do this until I'm at 498. What I'm doing here. Okay, so this obviously went down to 496. That's 2 grams. I'm not too worried about it. So I'm going to go ahead and add my water and my flour, and I'll show you the breakdown of that. Okay, so now I'm ready to start my water. So on goes the mug. I zero it out. Put it to grams because I want to make sure I get grams here. Boop, right there. And I use, sorry about that, I just use Wegmans, bottled water, but this is the one that I had from before. And I am watching for that to hit about 100 grams. That was a little much. So I just adjust it until we're a little closer to where I want to be. That's good enough. Okay. So, real fancy, just dump it in. I personally, at this point, I like to clean this up with my spatula. All right, cleaning off the rim again as well. I just don't, I don't like anything to be around the outside so that when I seal it up, I have less chance for bacteria or other things getting involved with my starter because we want to keep it clean. All right, time for some flour. Okay, so I use the same mug I use for water. I just dry it out with a paper towel, make sure it's super dry. And I've been experimenting with a combination just this week. Never done this before, but normally I just do 30 ounces of whole wheat and 70 ounces of all-purpose. But this week I've been playing around with adding about 2 tablespoons of this before coming up to that 30%. So I'm kind of, it's more like 15 grams, and then the rest of it all-purpose flour. So basically dry this out and then start adding your flour in whatever combination, whatever percentage you choose. Again, I used to do for all my other loaves, I've been doing 30, 70 grams to get to 100 grams. This week, adding a little bit more of that. Okay, so I ended up going to about 40 grams total for the mix of the buckwheat and the whole wheat. But now I'm going to get my all-purpose. Still, again, so now it's really more 60-40. And the idea being that I get up to 100 grams again, total, for my starter, because Max is hungry. Okay, so obviously there, now we mix it all up, but just remember that if you're using whole wheat flour, check the issue of flour that goes rancid. The whole wheat flour stays in my fridge. These two, I have to double check. The buckwheat might have to go in my fridge also, and then the all-purpose I don't keep like that, but obviously in airtight containers. In fact, I have had the issue of those little moths in the pantry. And I found out that a lot of people recommend that you freeze your flour for at least 3 days before putting it into airtight containers. Like then you let it get to room temperature and you put it in those airtight containers, because that kills off any larvae that might be, and they're not, it's just a nuisance. I know it's kind of gross to talk about, but it's a fact that that's actually present in most of our flour. So the question is, did they all get killed off, and make sure that nothing can actually grow and become those nasty little buggers. He's right below the label right now with his feeding. And I can, or maybe a little bit lower than that even. All right, and it's okay, like there's all this junk. I just rinse that off. It doesn't matter. I just need something to start. I mark it with a dry erase pen on the outside so I can see where he was when he started, and then I'll just eyeball him throughout the day. Sometimes this takes a couple days for it to or if it's really slow, I could feed him in the morning and really not even see him doing anything. But other times I will feed, and by the afternoon it's way up here. The trick, or the timing, is to start making bread when it's way up here and about to fall. So that's the best time to make a leaven. Therefore, normally I feed him at night. So I'm doing this mid-morning, and that's probably not going to work well for my, I'm not sure when I'm going to plan doing this. Or I could feed him again tonight so that he's really active by the morning if I want to start making bread tomorrow morning. Okay, it's morning, and obviously Max had a good night. Okay, it's noon now. It's noon, and check this thing out. So I might go ahead and start a leaven, because yeah, there's a really good chance I can make this dough tonight. Okay, I got sidetracked, and as you can see, Max is still climbing, but I am going to make this starter since I'm going to be up late tonight. And if I start it now, I'm probably beginning the shaggy dough at 5 o'clock. I think I can pull it off. It's going to be a late night, but you'll get to see me do it. Right now, you can see that Max is he's probably bubbling. You can probably see things popping. But anyway, I'm going to do a quick test. It should be completely fine. You can see how light and fluffy this is right now. But if it's a float test, you just drop a little bit in a glass of water, and this is obviously not going anywhere. This is very, very ready starter. So let's make some leaven. Now it's probably fine, but I obviously put this in a smaller container when I should have put it in this one. So I'm going to transfer this to this, cover it with some cling wrap, and let it sit here for 4 hours. One other quick note, sometimes after I've set up my my leaven and started the clock in my brain, so I'm telling myself at this point that at 5:30 I need to make my shaggy dough. That'll be 4 hours from now. and then at 6:30 I combine them. So I might, at this point, if I was hungry and I was able to do that right now, I might make a sourdough pancake. And I would just put some olive oil in a skillet, pour some of this in there, add some Italian seasoning, and kind of just press a pancake together. Some people don't like it because it has that really, really tangy sourdough taste, and you'll have sort of a mushy inside, but I'm okay with it. If I cook it quickly and I eat it immediately, it's not dangerous. Riggs, no. But I'm able to do that, and then I'll have that with a salad or something. So some people love a sourdough pancake. Now would be the time that I would normally make that. Otherwise, I'm just going to end up pouring a lot of this out tonight when I feed him again.
You're so cute.
Okay, it's 4 o'clock, and I just realized, oh my goodness, I'm going to be making dough, and my wheat has been in the fridge, so not the best. I might even measure this out so that it becomes room temperature before I actually combine things and make this. Okay, this is absolutely goofy, Julia. This is absolutely typical. I totally forgot about the bread, and it is now 6 o'clock. So I haven't even set up my shaggy dough yet, but that means that my wheat flour is at the right temperature. It also means that I will probably be making bread loaves all the way till midnight. Not the best choice, but it's what is going to happen. So here goes midnight bread coming up. Let me start the shaggy dough. Sounds good? Okay, so much bigger bowl this time for my shaggy dough. Let's get this zeroed out, and Juliana, stop giggling. And then we have, let's see, 90 grams of wheat. I'm going to do this the normal way. I'm not adding the buckwheat at this point. I just want to kind of go traditional, the way I do my bread, with a little bit slightly non-traditional starter with my buckwheat starter this time. And we'll see how that affects the flavor profile. I think it's going to make it, I think we'll be able to tell the difference. Okay, so there's my 90 wheat, and then the rest of this is going to be 810 grams of bread flour. So really all I'm watching for is a total of 900 grams of flour, and the rest of it's this bread flour. Okay, so the dogs are playing in the background, and we're now at 675 grams of water, which is right there and here.
I'm calling this cute. I'm calling this cute kitty dad.
Okay, I got it at 675 grams, and now I'm going to put it in the microwave and put it at maybe like, we're talking, I don't know, 50% power for 45 seconds. And then I'm going to check the temperature. I'm just trying to get it up to 90 degrees. When it's at 90 degrees, it goes in with the flour to make the shaggy dough. Okay, so I have the water out, and I had it in there for maybe 45 seconds at 70% power. And it's cooling down, which I kind of wanted it to do. It's right at 92 degrees. I'm fine with this. So let's go ahead and add this to our mix of flours, of our wheat and bread flour. So we're combining this. Okay, I do use the press and seal film by Glad. Just this one works for me. And I've tried other things and it's not worked as well while I'm trying to make this dough. So to make every step easier on me, this one works the best for me. Okay, in just a minute, I'll measure out some water and some salt just to have it nearby for when I do combining and when I start up my combined dough. But there's my leaven and my shaggy dough waiting and resting for an hour. And I just have out my my little cheat sheet. I'm going to try to make one up that's printable, and I just stick it in a page protector, and so now I can make adjustments. If I stay on track, I will be done at 11:30. So it's not quite midnight bread, but it's pretty close. For the record, when I say midnight bread, that does not mean we are eating bread at midnight. It means it goes into the fridge to sit for the night to proof so that we'll have bread tomorrow. Okay, it's been an hour, so I'm about to combine the doughs, but the first thing I'm going to do is measure out my 18 grams of the sea salt and the 45 grams of water that I'm setting aside. And in 15 minutes, after I combine these, I'll add these to it. So first things first, I just like to have it set up sort of like a sous chef or something. All right, zeroing out, and I do use this stuff. Here we go. Okay, those are rated for later, and then this one just becomes I use this for my hands. Basically, I keep one mug of random water here so I can dip my fingertips in it while I combine and while I toy with the dough so that I can handle it. Okay, so here goes nothing. It's just so much noise. Okay, so combine.
In their early days, we were kind of creating on stage. That's what Juliana got to live.
Okay, so obviously this is the leaven and there's the shaggy dough. And all I'm gonna do, I kind of wet my hand and then I just poke in there. I mean, I'm not fancy about this because I'm just trying to work it to the bottom of the bowl. So dip, poke. This is not the actual slap and fold. This is just combining it so it can sit here for about 20 minutes. Trying to get to the bottom of the bowl so that the leaven is on every part of the dough. That's it. Okay, so now we're gonna just add the salt and the water that we set aside. Remember, there was 18 grams of the sea salt, the fine sea salt, and 45 grams of the water. So let me go ahead and splash that on there. And you can see the dough is looking already a little bit, am I getting that? It's smooth and looking okay, but it's about to completely change textures. So I've got you teetering over here. Let me see if this will work. Okay, in goes the water, just splashed right on there. And I sprinkle my salt over there. I'm sure there's probably other techniques. This is what I do. And now it's time, again with a little bit of water on my hands, I'm just going to gather this all up and start combining. Okay, a little tricky to do this one-handed, but I'm going to show you how I do it. Because right now the goal is just to combine my dough, and already it's starting to become very elastic, and you can see the smoothness on the outside of this, but I'm trying to get all that water incorporated and all that salt worked through the dough. You hear that sloshy sound. It's going to get a little bit fibrous on this side, which I'm not great about, but that's okay. Or I don't even know if that's the right description. Okay, I'm already getting big air bubbles. That's fine, but right now the more important thing is sort of this thing that I'm doing. So I kind of scoop my hand underneath like they showed in that other video that I originally learned this on. I'm trying to incorporate it all through, get that salt all the way through. See, I don't necessarily want that kind of thing to happen, but it's going to repair itself in a few minutes, so. All right. Kind of cupping and pulling up to get it all incorporated. Sorry about the dog noise in the back. Doing some crazy things here. Very, very wet dough, as you can see. All right. Now, got a little stringy here. I'm going to froth it a little bit again until I get more of that bubbly thing. And that's when I'm going to start doing the fold. See if I can get it going there. It's hard to do this one-handed because normally I hold the bowl. Let's see what I can do. I'm going to try this even though the dogs are playing in the background. Okay, so now I've got a pretty pretty smooth top. And as you can see that look? So all I'm doing really is picking up and dropping. And I know that the video that I originally, from the Babish video, has it kind of stretching it out real long like this. Sorry about the background noise. You don't need all that though. You can just make it nice and, I mean, look how pretty that already is on the top. So I'm just gonna do this a couple more times. I think the total amount of time since I added the, stop doggo. The total amount of time since I added the salt has been maybe 2 or 3 minutes total. Because I'm just adding and turning. Getting that nice bubble going. This started to happen, I don't really like that. Okay, you can see that it's a nice smooth top. I'm gonna cover this and let this rest for another 15 minutes. Okay, so we're at the first of many just timed slap and fulls, but you can see that it's already super stretchy. So I just do once this way, and then I turn the bowl quarter away, so I'm going like north-south, and now it's east-west. But look how stretchy, really stretchy, and then it's done. And I can show you just how, if you can see that, I don't know what I'm showing you, but that's the beauty of the dough. And I'll cover that up. And we wait 15 more minutes. Okay, we have another one for, I guess it's another 15 minutes. So we're gonna stretch. Look how nice this is. Really, really smooth now on the top. Real smooth dough. And I can just stop at that. I'm not going to, overdoing it. There. And that gets another 15 minutes. Okay, it's a big moment in the actual process. Everything's looking beautiful. I'm actually seeing bubbles rising in the dough. But this nice one is that I get to do the turn, and then I get a 30-minute break between having to come back over to this bowl, which is great because I'm trying to get my lessons ready for school tomorrow. So now I get 30 minutes. Okay, I just performed one of our last flip and turns, and this now we have to wait for an hour and a half before we touch it again. And when we touch it at that point, it's to put it out on the counter and start to form the little boulets. So for now, I'm just going to let it sit, and we're gonna be real close to midnight by the time I get there. Okay, so I probably should have been prepping these before the time kind of came up on this, but all I do is put my liners in the baskets, and this is where we get to be really messy on our countertop. It should be clear.
I love this part.
Clear enough. Okay, on there. Okay. All right, so it's not a perfect counter, but it's good enough. I keep my cup of water handy. Okay, this is rice flour. And so what I do now is I just very generously sprinkle in the rice flour so that it's all over this thing, because you want a good coating. You don't want the bread while it's proofing to stick to this in any way. All right, and then the counter gets a really good dusting.
The counter is clean.
Yeah, clean enough. But it's gonna be, it should be really clean, but you know.
We'll make it
I gotta
dirty
get going.
again.
So here we go. So, keep going, keep filming right there.
Okay, flour.
Over comes our beautiful dough.
Oh, and this looks really good.
And
Nice.
all I do is I use the bowl scraper at this point. And off it goes. You can see this is a sticky proposition.
Should we zoom in?
Super sticky.
There we go. That looks
Okay,
really
so
good.
now that's on the table. And yes, in seconds I'm going to be over there rinsing that out so we don't have a really bad problem with that bowl. Now I immediately, because this is going to create 2 loaves, I go ahead and make a line about halfway across my pile here.
Oh, I didn't know that. It's so cool.
I'm using the rice flour, and I also wet the blade of my, whatever this thing is, and then I slice. trying to create 2 different boulets here.
Did you say boulets?
I think they're called boulet. It's a French word. I don't know.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so I've got them. And I'm going to just do some gentle forming here. Start to create a little circle here that's going to become an eventual loaf. And if they're not the exact same size, that's fine.
They're special.
I did that. You know, we'll have one that's slightly bigger than the other. That's okay.
Or bread.
Okay, so now those guys sit for 5 to 10 minutes. So we're going to put some rice flour on both of the boulets, and I want to make sure my surface is covered because it's about to become a crazy little technique. All right. So at this point, I'm just trying to get it so I can lift it. What you can see is looks pretty content. Looks like it wants to lift for me. Let's tuck that back in. All right. Coming all around nice and neat. Make a nice flat area because I'm going to flip it over onto its back. Now watch how fast, or I'm going to move with confidence is basically the deal. So I'm going to scoop and lay it down.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, now I'm going to do just what they did on the Binging with Babish video. I come from the bottom up, from the side over, from the other side over, and on the back end, I wrap it over. This seems very floury on the inside. I don't usually have that much on the inside. I kind of overdid it. Okay, so you see how nice and bouncy and airy this is? And then I squish from both sides, seal it once here, and scoop it down. And you'll notice that it's pretty much, well, maybe not, usually sealed up pretty well on the bottom. So I'm trying to, at this point, I'm going to try to, I don't like to have all that rice flour in there, but whatever. I'm going to seal this up just with pinches because when the air escapes on the finished loaf, it's going to escape out of this little pucker on either end. So this one is pretty much done. And you see how bouncy and how much it moves around? There's a ton of air. Well, that's, I know, it looks pretty funny, doesn't it? It's like my arms sometimes, right, Juliana? Okay, so the deal is that this is going to proof in the fridge with a little covering, but let me go ahead and do the second boulet so you can see it happen again.
It's so satisfying.
It is pretty cool. This part's pretty fun.
And you do it with such confidence.
Well, you kind of have to be the boss, otherwise it won't really cooperate for you the way you want it to. Okay, that's looking like it's ready to flip. I got plenty of stuff over here. There we go.
Sorry, that's lap.
I'm sticking to this side a little bit, but that's okay. Ultimately, we will get through this.
Your camera's really good.
And then,
Like a burrito.
yeah, kind of.
I can see some bubbles on the edges.
Yeah, see that? That's going to be on my marvelous crusty, happy crust. But for now,
It's just getting bigger on that's the biggest one.
now notice that that's pretty well sealed. There we go. I want it to all be sealed up on this end, but keep those 2 little puckers on the side, and I'm all right with this, honestly. Not a big deal. Okay, and then this gets a little bit more because I don't want it sticking to the cloth. That would be bad. I want it to lift out very easily tomorrow. All right, so hold up one sec. Again, I'm a big fan of the press and seal. So I tense mine a little bit. Give it a little bit of room. I've never had it raise up, but I want it to not, again, to not stick. I just want it to have some general room around there. And I love the way this thing behaves against the wicker. Like I'm not struggling with a lot of flimsy plastic when I use this stuff.
That's really like it works.
It does.
Wait, let me show her the brand.
Oh, already shown. Yeah, I'm showing you the brand.
Good.
Okay. So once I kind of get this
I'm glad you did.
up and ready, okay, this is going to go in the fridge. And tomorrow, when I get back from co-op, I will do the proof test. Okay, it's the next day. We just finished co-op, and I called Vince, and he set up the oven to be going. So that's been going at 500 degrees for at least 30 minutes. And I'm gonna check, do the poke test. Let's see if this actually picks up. Okay, so poke. You see I was not shy, and it's coming back up, but still leaving a slight dent. That's awesome. So that is very, very ready. This is ready to rock and roll. Let's do it. Okay, now that we're out of the fridge, I just set up parchment paper in a crisscross. I only do this to make it easier for me to carry it to the oven. Some people, I don't even know how they do it, but this is how I do it. All right, a little bit of rice flour again. Rice flour is my friend on this. I know my bread is ready. Before I do that, I want to show you something. I have the Baker of Seville. I have this lamb, this bread lamb. Thing was probably 20 bucks. Can you see that? Came in a little case. It's really fancy. It's got a really nice weight. This is super fancy. And you know, I'll use it, but in general, this came in a set of 6 disposables right here. 6 disposable blades. Really cheap, and this is my favorite. So I need to get 6 more, and 9 times out of 10, I grab this one. All right, so I just put my arm in that, no problem. Don't worry, we'll get that in a second. All right, so here we go. I rub a little bit of that. Notice that it lifted right out of there. No sticking to the liner or anything, and that's because I probably overdo it a little bit on the rice flour. So a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Start with this, and then, are you watching? Because this is where I score.
Yes, I'm watching.
Okay. So I just do it quickly, and I go a little deeper on this because I want it to lift when it bakes and give it that ear. So here we go. And now, let's do our sort of, this did not come out the way I normally do it. Oh well, no big deal. Here's my little wheat shaft. That's not as deep. I should have done it on that side and that side. Okay, well, whatever. In general, you don't want to do what I just did. Still gonna be pretty. Should we do another side or just leave it as is?
Leave it as is.
Okay, done. Okay, so now I take this heavy duty, because we're talking 500 degrees in my oven right now. So Juliana, you want to track how I do this? So I come over here, and I bake mine in a Dutch oven. It's not really the same pan as other people, but this is what I have, and I like it a lot.
That's really hot.
Very hot and very, very heavy. Ow. Okay, this goes here for just a second, and I very quickly plop this right on it. I don't worry about all that fluff because it's going to be just fine on rising. In goes this. Let's see what that's in. Yep, that's ready. And then it goes for 20 minutes at 500 degrees. Okay, timer is done, which means I now need to move this down to 420 or 450. And then I come down here, and you're gonna get to see the first little golden glow of my beautiful loaf of bread, which I'm doing all this on one-handed, and it's quite warm. So, whoa, 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 hot, hot, hot. This glove is not the best one. As you can see, some of the burning has happened. But as you can see, it's already got that beautiful, and this goes back in at 450 for another 25 minutes, because that's what it said on that Binging with Babish. And I love, whoops, sorry. I love the glow I get for going that way. We're gonna go about 25 minutes, and I'll check it at like probably 22 or 23, just to make sure it's okay. All right, go baby, go. Get gorgeous. Okay, moment of truth. Let's see how this thing turned out. Smells amazing. A little bit of steam there for everybody. And look at that. Isn't that pretty? Can you hear that sound? I'm going to just leave that there. Okay, now you'll notice that these are here, they are moist, and I've just taken them, now that everything's baking and everything, I actually just let these air dry for a little while. I want this to be really dry before, and I also want a lot of air circulation so I can knock out any extra flour and hopefully have no bacterial growth. I don't want anything to start just creating a little colony of anything. So I let it dry really well, and then I shake this out. I want a lot of air circulation, like I said, so I'll just sort of set this. And sometimes I let these sit over here by my starter and over in this area of the counter where people don't touch it, or I'd set it out on another table or something, and I let it sit for 2 days. Like, really dry it out and then shake it all out so that it's ready for the next time I need to make bread. Okay, so this is the goal. We've got them both out. They look wonderful. They smell amazing. This one did not do the ear, and that just tells me I did not go deep enough on this score right here. But you can see that it's sitting up just as high, and it has this lovely, you can see all that wonderful stuff. So I can cut into it if you want to see the inside, but truthfully I can tell by just the sound and the weight of this, it's going to be a lovely, a really good sourdough marvelousness. That's how I do it. And what other questions? I'll put links to everything that I use in the notes below just so that you have them, and including the videos that I originally learned from. However, my ratios and my percentages are a little different based on other videos I watched. So hopefully all that will help. And I will also attach a checklist, and that's how I use it. I put it in a page protector, and I use a dry erase pen to check off as I go and to adjust times so I don't have to recreate it every time. That's it. All right, hope you're blessed. Bye.